Hey y'all, it's Jordan Davis again. It has taken me forever to edit this video. It's been like 3-4 hours. So please drop a like if you would. I would really appreciate that. But I wanted to let you know, since it's such a long video again, I'm gonna put timestamps in the description below so that I respect your time, and if you have just any specific categories you want to see, you can jump ahead to those. But that being said, I would love it if you want to wait till the evening, open a bottle of wine and have some wine and just talk with me, sit with me in the video. I would love if you would watch the whole thing too. But again, I want to be respectful of your time. So timestamps will be in the description if you don't have time to watch the whole thing. But you can always come back later too. I sat down to do this. I was like, whew, this is gonna be hard. Hello everybody, it's Jordan Davis again. Thank you for clicking on this video and welcome back to my channel. Just really quickly, if you don't know who I am, I'm a grad student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill who loves reacting to Eurovision past and present. And for the past 3 weeks, we have been reacting together on this channel to Eurovision 2007. And tonight we have finally reached the big recap night, where I give my thoughts on 2007 as a year and also dole out my awards for some favorite and least favorite categories. But I'll get into that a little bit later. If this sounds like something you're interested in, and if you want to continue with us, we're starting 2008 next year, then please consider subscribing, or 2008. We're starting 2008 next week, and I would love it if you would come along with us for that. So if you would like to, please consider subscribing. I would love it if you did. Please also like this video and comment below. And before I want to hear your thoughts. So please, like I said, comment below. But before I get into anything, I just want to reiterate, this is my opinion. You know, I'm a big proponent of the subjectiveness of all of this like reaction stuff, this Eurovision stuff. It's all hugely subjective, which is why I decided against naming my categories best and worst. Instead, I call them favorites and least favorites. Because again, this is meant to reflect my own thoughts after having reacted to the 27 entries that I did over the past 3 weeks. And it's not meant to be me trying to objectively deem certain songs or certain entries as this or that, or not this or that. So just wanted to lay that out there. I'm totally aware that this is totally a subjective opinion, but it's fun to do. So I'm gonna do that. You know, we spent 3 weeks reacting together to these Eurovision entries, so it's nice to kind of culminate with something. So anyway, I just want to re-explain the format for anybody that might be new or might have forgotten since the last video. By the way, you can check out my 2006 recap. I'll link to that up above. So I'm going to start with a brief summary just of my thoughts right after this, but then we're going to get into some awards. And so I came up with a few categories that I felt pertinent to Eurovision and my experience of it reacting to these videos. And you'll notice, if you remember the last video, that some of these categories may have changed. I added a category in the favorites. I changed a category in the favorites because I was trying to get a feel for the year, but I'll explain that later. So let me list the categories. So first we have all of the favorites categories. And we have favorite ethnic entry. We have favorite rock entry. Last time it was favorite pop entry, but because 2007 was 2007, I thought it was a little bit better for me to do favorite rock entry. We have most surprising entry, favorite staging, favorite vocals, and lastly, this is the category I added, favorite ballad. Just because I think we all know at this point that Eurovision is always gonna have ballads. And so I'm like, you know what, they're so pervasive, let me just recognize that and add them to the list as well. So, we also have my least favorites. There aren't many of these because if you know me at all, you know that I really grow to love most Eurovision entries, no matter kind of what they give, especially the more I listen to them. So it's really hard for me actually to find least favorites unless it's hugely different in a negative way from the rest of the entries that year. So we have least favorite vocals, we have least favorite styling, we have least favorite song overall, and we have least favorite staging. And so my final category after my favorites and my least favorites is the song to swap. And the song to swap is simply where I choose a song from the bottom 10 and I choose a song from the top 10. And I ask myself, if I was forced to switch two songs, one from the bottom and one from the top, which would I switch? It's not necessarily saying that the top 10 songs should be in the bottom 10, but if I had to choose, what would I choose? I think those are all pretty self-explanatory. You can always ask me how I kind of define these, what criteria I use to define these categories in the comments if you want to, but I think they're pretty self-explanatory, and I go into them each a little bit, and I should have timestamps below if you kind of want to skip ahead. But anyway, so without further ado, I just want to mention one more thing, one more important thing. I want you to know that I tried to only use songs one time. So if a song won in one category, I didn't want it to win, in another category, for the pure sake of making an interesting video. It would be easy to have the winner of the year winning in 4 to 5 different categories, but that wouldn't be very interesting. So I tried to keep it a song can only win a category. A song can only win one category. Even if I think the song has the best staging and the best vocals and it's the best ballad, I'm not gonna have it in all 3 of those spots because that makes this video near useless. So anyway, just know that if you see your favorite song but it's only there once and you think it should be there more than once, just know that I tried to pick what I thought it most excelled at in my eyes. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my general thoughts. So what did I think about Eurovision 2007 on the whole? So I came into this portion of our reaction series not really knowing what to expect with 2007. 2006, last time, I was relatively familiar with, so I kind of knew what to expect as far as that went. But 2007, I was really not familiar with any of these songs except maybe 3. So most of these reactions were true, raw, first time ever hearing the songs, ever seeing the stage performance reactions. So I came into 2007 not knowing what to expect, but pretty quickly, when I reacted to the top 10, I realized that 2007 actually came across as a lot more diverse than 2006 did to me. 2006 was hugely pop heavy. I mean, we had some ethnic entries, of course. I mean, it wasn't monolithic. It wasn't homogenous. You know what I mean? 2006 was still diverse. But to me, especially thinking about the top 10s, 2007 was vastly more diverse. I mean, we got everything from Molitva, the winner, this Serbian language ballad, to Water by Bulgaria, this hugely ethnic entry, Work Your Magic, that had these elements of like spy, detective, James Bond type things, Fight by Moldova, this female power rock song. Like, we have all of these crazy entries that were so different from one another. We really didn't have 2 entries in the top 10 that were alike, and that kind of rang true for the rest of the year for the most part as well. So I found 2007 hugely diverse, especially compared to 2006. And because of that, I think I also felt overall that 2007 may have edged 2006 as far as the strength of the year for me personally goes. I think having listened to both 2006 entries and 2007 entries, on the whole, I feel like 2007 had a stronger body of entries. Not to say that there aren't 2006 entries that were maybe better than 2007 entries, or that they both weren't great, but that I think because of the diversity of songs, that 2007 may edge it in the strength category for me as far as Eurovision years as a whole goes, between 07 and 06. So that was really surprising and interesting to me because I had no idea, that was going to be the case when I was coming into this 3 weeks ago. 2007 was also notably rock heavy, and one of my subscribers a few times, it may have been Michael. If it was Michael, shout out to Michael. If it wasn't Michael, let me know if it was you. But mentioned that this was kind of the Lordi effect. Lordi won 2006, and so a lot of countries jumped on this like rock bandwagon. But even in knowing that, I still think the rock entries that were sent were incredibly diverse. It's like we got, like I mentioned, Moldova with this hard rock piece. We had Andorra with this punk rock thing. Even Montenegro sent a rock song in Montenegrin, but it was kind of along that same punk rockish lines. And then like the Czech Republic and Iceland both sent these like slower tempo rock songs by what seemed like mature singers who had older rock roots. So even in the category of like rock entries, there was pretty incredible diversity, which only serves to kind of bolster my theory, I guess you could say, that the year overall was pretty damn diverse, if you don't mind me saying. So those are just kind of my general thoughts about 2007 as a year. I really enjoyed it. But again, I guarantee you, if you stick with me through this, there is not going to be a year of Eurovision that I don't enjoy. Like, you could just get that out of your head right now. I'm going to love it all to some degree or another. Now, you know, again, there are degrees, there's more and there's less, but I'm going to love it ultimately. So let's go ahead and get into the awards, shall we? So the first category that we have is always one of my favorites to do, and that is my favorite ethnic entry. So, like last time, y'all are gonna be mad at me, but it's the first category and it's already a tie. Y'all, I don't know what to say. There are some categories where there's just more than one song that fits the bill, and I think both of them belong in that category, and I just can't let myself pick one to the detriment of the other. So I had to pick two. I'm so sorry. But I also think you probably understand. So the first song, and this isn't rank order first and second, it's just the first one I'm listing. The first song that is one of my favorite ethnic entries is Bulgaria with the song Water. So this song, from the first listen, well, not even from the first listen, from the first moment of that first listen, something about it just like took me off my feet. I mean, not literally, because you know I was sitting in my chair that I always sit in, but figuratively, it took me off my feet. Elitsa and Stoyan have absolutely cemented themselves in the Eurovision canon as two artists who have this ability to convey an ethnic song in a way that very, very few other artists can do. Because in their performances, it's not just about singing in an ethnic fashion, and it's not just about the staging being ethnic, and it's not just about the music being ethnic music. There's something visceral. Visceral is an apt term. There's something visceral about their performance where no matter what else is going on, that ethnic element just cuts right to the core of the listener. It did to me anyway. So there's something about that it stuck with me, and I still remember that song even though it was one of the first ones that I reacted to. So that song was just like, it had to be in the favorite ethnic category. It had to be. There was no way I was gonna let that song go. But with that being said, there was another song too that I thought also had to be in the favorite ethnic song category. So this song also did the really ethnic thing, but it did it in a very different way than Bulgaria did. Whereas Bulgaria had the ethnic, but also with some like pop rockish music elements. It sounded hugely ethnic, but also like had contemporary radio elements. This song was a straight ethnic dance party hit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, my second choice, again, not saying second place, but second choice for favorite ethnic entry is Turkey with the song Shake It Up, Shekarim. This song has stuck in my head ever since I've heard it. I think Turkey as a country had a monopoly on ethnic entries for a long time. No, monopoly isn't the right term because that implies that, other countries didn't send ethnic entries. They did, but Turkey, that's what they did. Like, that was their thing. And they did it well. Like, what else can you say about Turkey's song? This song, like I said, it was an ethnic dance party hit. You cannot not move when you hear that song. I mean, you can, but it's probably going against what your body wants to do. You just gotta move when you hear that song. And that's powerful. That's powerful. And it's not just moving your head, like, it's moving your body. And so, because those two songs did the ethnic things so well, but they did them so differently, I had to include both. And just so you know, there's only one other category that I had a tie in. So don't worry, most of these are gonna be one category, one song, but give a guy a little slack. It's a lot of great songs that I have to choose from, and I don't wanna leave anyone out, because just because a song is not in my list here does not mean I don't think that song is fantastic. And in fact, most of the songs that are not in this list are still fantastic to me. So please don't take it like that, because it's just, so many categories unless I think of a category for each and every song. So with that, let's move on to our second category. So my second category is favorite rock song. Now, again, in 2006, this category was favorite pop song. But because this year was so rock heavy, I thought I would be remiss not to change that to rock, because this year was so rock heavy. This year was as rock heavy as 2006 was pop heavy. So I just have to say this was probably one of the, if not the hardest categories for me to choose. I sat here for literally like an hour going through these rock entries that we had and trying somehow to decipher which one I thought was my favorite. So I really had to think about which one brought something to me that I have returned to since listening to it. And so, although this is my favorite rock entry, before I announce it, I'm gonna say that I give a huge, huge shout out to the other rock entries, and I'll mention those after I show you this one. But the song that I chose for my favorite rock entry ultimately had to be Moldova with the song Fight. It may not seem apparent why I chose this to a lot of people, but something about this song, again, it just resonated with me. I was so impressed by Moldova sending this song because I feel like it's really out of Moldova's wheelhouse, and they did it well. Her vocals were stunning. Her vocals were on point. She was hitting notes like in the top of her head voice and hitting them like a laser. Like, listening back to that song after I did my reaction, I was impressed each and every time. And I think her styling was also one of the best for the rock entries that I saw. I would say between her and Evridiki, their styling for their rock entries were spectacular. Both of them had spectacular styling. And Evridiki was another contender for this category, but so was Iceland with Valentine Lost. And so was Andorra with that punk rock thing that took me all the way back to 2003 in a split second when the video started. Like, there were so many great rock entries this year. So I chose Moldova because I listen to it the most and I like it the most, but that's by a small margin because I also listen to Iceland a lot. I also listen to Cyprus a lot. I listen to Andorra a lot, even though I just reacted to it a couple of nights ago. I've already listened to it a few times. And I know there are others that I'm not remembering right now because there were so many rock entries, but those are just a few others that I want to give credit to. In addition to giving credit to my winner, which was Fight by Moldova. So, on to our third category. This one's always fun to do because it's like, you can think about it, you can interpret this category in so many ways. So the third category that we're doing is the most surprising entry to me. What was the entry that shocked me the most? Now, I know a lot of people might think I would put Ukraine, Dancing La Chatumba, but I didn't. And let me explain why. I didn't put Ukraine for this because although I had not seen the entire performance, the Eurovision world is so saturated with clips of that song and with performances by Verka after the fact, like still does performances frequently these days, that I'm familiar with the imagery. You know, I've seen it a lot, even if only in bits and parts. So for that reason, I wasn't really surprised per se when I saw it. I was happy when I saw it, and I was happy I got to put the parts together, but I wasn't surprised in a way that I felt suited this category. So for this category, I chose France's entry, L'amour à français, because from the opening second, I was trying to figure that out. And by the closing second of that song, I was still trying to figure it out. The staging was crazy. It had this black and pink color scheme, which I think was beautiful. It was a beautiful choice, and it really just added a lot of intrigue to the performance overall. The guy had a damn cat on his shoulder, a stuffed cat. They did this like running in place dance move, and then he ran around the whole stage. There was just so much to this performance that I had to decipher and work through and think through that really, you know, I needed y'all to walk me through it, and you did in the comments, so thank you for that. But because of that, it was one of the most surprising entries to me. Now, there were others that surprised me as well. I'll say Germany surprised me because I wasn't expecting them to send such a jazzy entry, and I loved it. I think there was another one that I'm forgetting. Hungary surprised me too with Unsubstantial Blues. I wasn't expecting them to send something like that either. But for just the pure shock value, craziness value, I had to say France surprised me. So, on to our fourth category. The fourth category that we have is my favorite staging. And so with this, I think my favorite staging is pretty self-explanatory. The category of staging is pretty self-explanatory. What stage captivated me the most, or what staging captivated me the most. Now the answer to this may surprise you, or it may not. So my song that I think had the best staging was Unsubstantial Blues by Hungary. Speaking of Unsubstantial Blues, which I just mentioned. So the reason I think that this song had my favorite staging was because the staging in this song played such a critical role in telling the story of this already narrative-driven, story-driven song. The staging with the suitcase that she had, the street sign, the fact that the walkway was overlaid with this projection of a road, just really everything about this staging helped tell the story of the song in a way that forwarded its emotional impact. So for that reason, I decided to give Best Staging to Unsubstantial Blues, just because it was so cohesive, it was so congruent with the narrative that she was singing about, that it just made sense to give the staging award to Unsubstantial Blues for me. So the next category is Best Vocals. And this is another category where we had a tie. Now there were so many great vocals in 2007 that this was a really hard one to decide too. But this is the category where I felt first and foremost, our winner should be placed. So the first entry that I think had the best vocals from Eurovision 2007 was Subservia with Molitva. I mean, I don't think you can doubt that she had not only one of the best vocals of the year, but one of the best vocals of a Eurovision winner, period. Like, these vocals were fantastic, and it was not only her vocals, and this is congruent with both of my best vocal awardees. It was not only the lead vocals, but it was what they did with the lead vocals and the backing vocals together that really stood out to me. So I had to give it to her. She was doing runs, she was singing high in her voice, but it was so controlled, it was so on point. Again, that laser focused voice, but it was so emotive as well. It really checked all the boxes for me that I looked for in a vocal. And so the second song that I have winning my best vocal category is Slovenia with Svetsiuga. So the first moment I listened to this song, I just reacted to this song a day ago. But when I listened to this song, I was captivated. I was taken by the range in her voice, not only note-wise, not only, you know, that she could go low and she could go high note-wise, but also the dynamism in her voice. She started off with a smoother vocal, and then she went into a more traditional operatic vocal. And again, it was not only her voice, which is fantastic, but it was also the interplay between her voice and the backing vocalist voices and the harmonies that they did and the kind of call and response that they did. It really, really resonated with me in a way that I enjoyed, vocally speaking. So, for that reason, this was my other entry, and I really couldn't decide between these because they both stood out so much that I had to give them both the best vocal spot. And so we're on to our last category in the favorites group. Then we'll move on to the least favorites, and then finally we'll close out with our songs to swap. So my newest category, the category that I added for this recap video, is my favorite ballad. And I added this because I realized that, like, we're gonna have Eurovision ballads every year, and we're gonna have multiple of them every year. So I might as well just add a category for it because I'm gonna need to find a category that pays respect to these entries that we know and love so much. So my favorite ballad of this year, remembering that, you know, I'm not reusing songs that have won other categories. So while I think Molitva would have won this category, while I think Svetsiuga would have been a contender for this category, I'm not going to have those win this category because, again, it would get a little dry, a little boring if I had songs winning multiple categories. So I tried to pick a new song for each category. And so with that in mind, the song that I have winning my favorite ballad for Eurovision 2007 was
Music is the only world for me. In my world we live in harmony. Music knows no creed or color. Day by day we live a dream.
North Macedonia with Mojo Svet. So this song, it's another one that I reacted to just a day ago, but I haven't been able to stop listening to it. Something about the crazy rhythm in the chorus that is so hard to catch on to, but that makes you want to catch on to it. And then the moments at the end, in the last like minute of the song where the music drops out and it's just the percussion and her vocals and it switches from Macedonian to English, just stand out to me. They stand out to me and they make the song so impactful that I had to recognize the song somehow. And I thought the best space for this song would be to put it in the favorite ballad section. So, Mojo Svet, North Macedonia by Kalina is my favorite ballad of Eurovision 2007, of the ones that I didn't already use for a different category. So now, we get into the unfortunate, but let me preface, just because a song is in my least favorite category does not mean I dislike the song. Because remember, I end up liking most Eurovision songs. 99% of Eurovision songs I will end up loving, especially after the year is over. So considering that 2007 happened so long ago, I'm gonna love most of these entries. So But that being said, we do have to get into the least favorites. And you know, it always hurts to give these awards, but at the same time, I think it's interesting to kind of see the contrast and the rationale behind why they were chosen. So, getting into the first least favorite category. My first least favorite category is least favorite vocals. And I'll give you 1 second to guess what my least favorite vocal was. And if you get it, be honest, put it in the comments below. Because I mentioned it kind of when I reacted to the song. So my least favorite vocal is, unfortunately,
First off, she's a lady. This is a lady's world. Man, she drives him crazy, dancing like a cheeky girl.
Greece with Yasu Maria. Now, Greek friends, before you crucify me, let me explain. Y'all know I love every damn thing about this song except his vocals. Now, they could use work. They could use work. They were really like nasally the whole time, which was not pleasant to listen to. And the thing about it is, I don't think the song required so much out of the vocal that it justified the vocal being as shaky as it was, because it was kind of shaky for most of it. And so while I like the dancing, while I like his personality, while I like the staging, really, again, I liked everything else, I cannot get behind those vocals. So unfortunately, Greece took my spot for worst vocals, or not worst vocals, my least favorite vocals of Eurovision 2007. But knowing Greece and knowing that I love their more recent entries, I know they're gonna come back and they're gonna get some spots in my favorites in the years coming. I can almost promise Greece will find its way to my favorites very soon. So, moving on to my second least favorites category. My second least favorite category is least favorite styling. This is another one where if you were along with me through all of these reactions, you may have an inclination about what I'm going to say. I'll give you another quick second to drop it in the comments below if you guess it correctly. My least favorite styling for Eurovision 2007 is... Austria with the song Get a Life, Get Alive. Now, again, let me preface this. I liked the main vocalist's style with the kind of rhinestone encrusted hooded shirt. I liked that. I would wear that. But what I didn't like was the styling of the backing dancers. Because while I understand the red ribbon was like an HIV statement, they didn't have to be dressed in like birdish costumes. You know what I mean? It was birdish, and I didn't love that. And it confused me when I watched it, and it took my attention away from what I think the message was and what the performance could have been. And so for that reason, I have to give it to Austria. Austrian friends, if any of y'all are watching, I apologize. But like I said, every country has up years and every country has down years. So don't take it personally, because there are some Austrian entries that I love as well. So let's get into our third least favorites category. So our third least favorites category, I had to switch two of them. So the order I listed them in earlier is not the order I'm gonna say them in. My third least favorite category is least favorite staging. So my least favorite staging is...
Vampires are alive. The legends have to survive. We'll never come undone, and we will be forever young.
Switzerland, Vampires Are Alive. The reason this is my least favorite staging is because I understood what they were trying to do, but it was very obvious that they did not get there. I was not sure if with the staging they were trying to be serious they were taking themselves seriously as this like darkish song, or if they were trying to be satirical. It walked the line in a way that obfuscated the actual intent of the song. I don't think the staging really reflected either a satirical staging or a serious dark staging. It was kind of like a cheapish Halloween thing. The outfits were not great, but we're not doing styling, we're talking about the staging. The mannequins in the back did fill out the stage, but I don't think the staging conveyed what they needed it to convey, and I think that was reflected in how the song did overall. So my least favorite staging in Eurovision 2007 was Vampires Alive by Switzerland. Vampires Are Alive by Switzerland, excuse me. And lastly, last in my least favorites category. The last least favorite category is least favorite song overall. Now, I was going back and forth between two songs. I'm not gonna mention the song that didn't get put in this category that I was going back and forth between, because I don't think that's productive. I'm gonna just leave that to your imagination. But the song that I chose for my least favorite song overall is
Everything's gonna be alright when I get on the stage tonight.
Denmark with the song Drama Queen. There's a reason for this. It's because after listening to the song, I never really had a desire to listen to it again, unfortunately. It's because the staging was really like kitschy in a not good way. It was like this kitschy drag that seemed kind of dated drag, you know what I mean? Because you know Eurovision, there are so many performers that did drag well that this really did not for me. It also screamed like a Las Vegas residency. Like, you know when artists get older and they don't want to tour around the world anymore, so they get a residency at Vegas, a la Mariah Carey, a la Celine Dion, and they just stay there and perform. I feel like it was that, but even a little bit cheaper than that, even a lot of it cheaper than that. I just didn't love it. I didn't love it. It wasn't for me, and so for that reason, this was my least favorite song overall. The song didn't work for me, the staging didn't work for me, the vocals were okay for me, the vocals were not bad, but they didn't do anything crazy for me. And for that reason, unfortunately, I have to give my least favorite overall to Denmark with Drama Queen. But that being said, again, I know there are some Danish entries that are going to come up in later years that I'm going to love. So, Danish friends, please don't be mad at me. Like I said, we all have our up and down years. You will come back. So, on to our final category period. Our final category period, just to remind you, is my songs to swap. If you don't know what that is when I choose one song from the top 10, one song from the bottom 10, pretend like somebody has a gun to my head and is forcing me to switch two songs. So I picked two songs to switch, one from the top and one from the bottom. So the song from the bottom 10 that I think could reasonably deserve a place much higher than it got, potentially even the top 10, is Malta with Vertigo. I can't get over this whole Middle East meets Europe thing that it did. It did it so well. It did it so well. Malta presented their own cultural nexus on stage, that nexus of the Middle East and Europe. It presented that in the form of a song with good vocals, a song with good styling, a song with good staging and dancing. That's what Malta did. And it ended up in the bottom 10, and I don't think it should have. So that's why Malta is my song from the bottom 10 that I would switch. But what song from the top 10 would I switch it with? The song from the top 10 that I would switch with Malta has to be Armenia with Anytime You Need. Now, I love my Armenian friends, so please don't crucify me for this. But I think this song out of any in the top 10 was the most middle of the road for me. And I say that because the song itself didn't do much for me. It was the instrumentation that elevated the song for me, and it was the staging that elevated the song for me. The song itself was a ballad, and it was fine for me. The vocals were fine and they were good for the song, but it wasn't remarkable like some of these other top 10 entries were for me. So, for that reason, if I had to choose, I would switch Armenia from the top 10 and Malta from the bottom 10 and trade their places. Whew. Y'all, I swear to God, doing this makes me so anxious because I'm like, I don't like making people feel like I don't like their songs. Because like I said, I love 99% of Eurovision songs. So I don't like making people feel like I don't like their songs. I sat down to do this, I was like, whew, this is gonna be hard. But you know what? We got through another year, and I think that's something to be celebrated because we're all stuck inside right now. And so I thank all of the people who are regularly with me, reacting to these songs. A lot of y'all, you know the songs, but maybe you haven't listened to them in a long while. Or maybe you have, but you want to listen to them again and you want to pass some information to a more recent Eurovision initiate like myself. So I really appreciate y'all that have been with me through the whole thing. I appreciate any of y'all who may not have been with me through the whole thing, but maybe you came to react to your country or your favorite country. I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate y'all that may be new, may just be watching this video only. Any may have only watched one video of mine, and maybe it wasn't even one of the 2007 ones. Maybe it was an older one. I appreciate all of y'all. But if you want to subscribe, like I said, please do. I would love it if you would come on this journey with me. I don't do this for any reason other than because I would be listening to Eurovision entries anyway. And so I said, well, while I'm stuck inside, while Eurovision is canceled, why don't I just continue reacting? While we're all stuck inside, why don't I continue reacting so people can watch with me, so I can learn, and so I can experience these entries with other people at the same, not at the same time, but you know what I mean? You can watch it with me, so to speak. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I was so excited to make this, and I'm so excited to get into Eurovision 2008 next week, starting with 10th and 9th place on Monday. I probably won't be uploading this weekend at all. Usually I try to upload at least once over the weekend, even though that's kind of my break period. But I'm going to be watching a dog this weekend. So I don't know if I'll have time to upload like a reaction request video. If I do, I will, and maybe I'll introduce you to the little dog I'm watching for the weekend. But if not, then I will be back with you shortly on Monday. But anyway, if you like this video, please like this video. Comment below your thoughts because I need to hear your thoughts on all of these things. Let me know if you agree with my awardees. Let me know if you disagree. But I would love it if we could keep it productive and keep it respectful because I try to be as respectful as possible when doing things like this. And if y'all could be respectful too, I know most of y'all are. I know 99% of y'all are so cool, so respectful. But you know, there's always a few people who get into a tizzy about things that I don't think need to be gotten into a tizzy over. So if we could just keep it respectful, keep it enjoyable, keep it fun for all of us, I would love to hear your thoughts on all of these, if you agree, disagree, or otherwise. And again, if you want to subscribe, please subscribe. But as always, thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.